Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Good
I
morning,
don't
sir.
know. Yeah, thank you. I
Good
just
morning,
wanted to
sir.
know that is there anybody from the organizing
Good morning,
committee
sir.
is going? Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I am Professor PC Mankodi. On screen, you can read who am I. Is the screen visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can say it.
I just wanted to know whether anybody is going to start the activity and later on I have to start, or should I start right now?
Start, sir. Start. No.
Okay,
Start, sir.
You can start, sir.
fine. If recording facility is there on your side, please do record, because I just
Yes.
checked, I do not have that right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It is recorded.
Meeting is recorded. It is seen in our screen. The meeting is being recorded. That message is coming.
Fine,
So probably it is recorded.
fine. Thank you. Thank you very much. I will take 1 or 2 minutes to introduce, and then I'll start with the activity. Actually, I am Professor PC Mankodi, right now working in Department of Zoology, Faculty of Science, the Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda, Vadodara. I am basically a core zoology teacher, as well as my expertise is in fisheries, marine science, aquaculture, and remote sensing. And I have to be member of the Biodiversity Board nominated by Government of Gujarat for few years. Recently, the board which is there in power, before this, what was the board? I was in that. So I could get a good understanding over this particular topic, which was discussed out with the members of the organizing committee, and I decided to talk on this. I think the microphones should be muted by your side, otherwise I will continuously get the disturbance. So take care of that. Right now, I am directly moving to the topic. In between, if you find any problem of presentation, slides or anything, or if you would like to talk something, you can just unmute your microphone and ask me. I think what proceeding I have decided is to go for giving explanation to this topic which I have planned, and later on we can have some little bit formal discussion on this component. Here what I see is the what is biodiversity. I will touch to that. Then the status of biodiversity with keeping Gujarat in center, and then I will give some idea on regulations which are very important, as I learned from your organizing committee that all of you are from life sciences. So life sciences are supposed to deal with animals, plants, and microbes. Unfortunately, I will not be able to give more details on microbes, but certainly plants and animals, what is the status, that also I can tell, and I will also talk about the regulation. प्लीज माइक्रोफोन बंद कीजिए, बहुत आवाज आ रही है. And also I will try to give you some idea on the management aspect. See, it is well known. It is the member who are sitting here need not required to tell what is biodiversity, but still as a customary what is required, I'll say that biodiversity is the variety of life which is seen in numbers, especially to make the decisions and all that, and also always referred with the ecosystem. So this biodiversity gives us the idea about their presence in the form of population, in the form of ecosystem, and so many different ways we can test that, understand that, and also we can find out if there is any indication of the losing of biodiversity, particular group, we are finding them threatened or finding them declining. So that also should be taken into account for the purpose of sustainment of good biodiversity. And that is what actually the aim of learning biodiversity, probably in all the universities now, in the postgraduate courses, the biodiversity is one of the good level unit which is discussed in detail. And at our place, we have one dedicated paper on this at Zoology Department. What are the elements of biodiversity? See, we can understand biodiversity with three major elements. One is ecological diversity, whereby we will be able to, scan through different components of ecosystem and try to correlate the presence, absence, and other component of threat and whatever I said about the bios into that, like biome we should touch to, then we can go down to bioregions or ecoregions, then we can reach up to landscape, then we can go to a particular ecosystem, we can then reach to a particular habitat, and then we can reach to a particular niche, and then finally to a population of that species. So in this format, from top to bottom or from bottom to top, in both the way, we certainly can look into the component of biodiversity. We should assess them, we should quantify them, we should qualify it. So that activity is probably the job of many of the departments who are working in the topic of distribution or diversity and assemblage of the different bios. The another is organismic biodiversity approach, whereby we'll go strictly to a taxonomic way. And again, that also starts from top to bottom. Normally, the aim is bottom. Then we can go up, but so I consider like that. So the individual organism we are interested, the population of that organism or a species we are interested. We can think about a subspecies variety also, if at all existing. In all the species, we do not have subspecies. So in that, then species, then genera, we are excelling up, then family, then several other taxa is there, then phyla, and then finally the kingdom or domain. This is one another approach with which we can document, we can understand the biodiversity. Third approach is genetic diversity, whereby we'll take the component from top to bottom, we'll pick up the population of a species, and then we'll take up the individual out of that. We'll take the map of the chromosomes of that individual. We'll try to understand the gene level conditions of that, and also we can go to nucleotide condition. So these are the major elements of biodiversity which is taken care of by research and study point of view. But then what are the different type of biodiversities? There are four major types. Technically, in many of the books or in many of the literature, if you read, it will be three, but I have classified into four. The reason is that ecological diversity is one, where we talk about niche and habitat. Already I have talked about that, so you can refer back and keep it in your mind. The another is genetic diversity. Now at this point of time, we will be very specific to a species. And also in the species, if there is any trait change or any variant is there or any subspecies is there, anything is to be found out, or we want to ensure which is that species, we can go to a molecular diversity. Normally in case of the animals, because I'm a zoologist and we do work on this, so I can say that in the case of animals, what we opt is that we opt the mitochondrial COI as the particular component which we analyze further through molecular system and identify the organism, and that we call as a barcoding. Same thing is there in the case of other organisms, but then the molecule which is decided are different. And the another variety is a taxonomic diversity. Now I would like to tell over here that taxonomic diversity is something which is again a population and public demand. People also would like to know about the taxon. People would also appreciate to try to understand what are the different type of animals or plants and all that. That means the societal role when it comes to biodiversity. This is one of the very important component. Global biodiversity is usually divided into three categories. I just now told you that I opted for four to just categorize. Same thing is in the form of a little explanation is there, like genetic diversity refers to differences in genetic makeup between distinct species and to generic variations within the species. Then species diversity refer to the variety of species within a region. And ecosystem diversity is the variety of habitats, biotic communities, and ecological process, as well as the diversity present within that ecosystem. So all these things are very essential. All these things are mapped. All these things are getting documented. A lot of documentation is done, but still we are not sure that what is the exact status of biodiversity. So that means this is a very open topic for discussion as well as research area. We just strengthen our understanding to the different component. Let me explain one point over here. I have selected and organized my topic in such a way that many of the basic things will be coming in a systematic order. The reason is very simple, that you are having a diversity, and that diversity I have to take care in my presentation. Everybody may not be well versed with the taxonomic approach and whatever I say. So what I have tried is I have tried to take this component in that way, that as I am teaching to a postgraduate classes. And one important aim of the refresher courses is to modulate teachers for a better explaining system, for a better presentation system. So with fortunately we having a good experience, I'm trying to explain this in a very, very systematic order from a very low level to gradually will climb the ladder. So ecological diversity is diversity of organisms, reference to their ecosystem they occupy. That means freshwater organism diversity or a terrestrial animal diversity or something like that. So there the reference is ecosystem, and the organisms will be different. Considered as habitat diversity also. This is a synonym. Habitat diversity also you may read in some of the papers or in some literature. The major one in these are marine ecosystem, terrestrial ecosystem, freshwater ecosystem, estuarine ecosystem, it's a very dynamic ecosystem, forest ecosystem, agroecosystem, again I would say that it's a dynamic ecosystem, mountains and alpine ecosystems, and finally the desert ecosystem. And desert ecosystem, when I say, I am including wasteland, I'm including desertified land and the desert also. So the species diversity within these ecological zones are different. To reach to a desert and understand about the diversity, but how the desert formed and what way the diversity were lost can also one of the component which can be studied. A lot of such work has been done by Saurashtra University, by Science Department, that I know. I am basically from that university, so I know that a lot of work is done on this particular topic. So as and when it is coming in the form of, give some idea, which in future, if you are interested, you can explore. So the minor one is parasitic ecosystem. There can be there can be different type of parasites, mainly the ectoparasites and endoparasites. And we can also understand that what type of parasite resides in which type of species, or normally parasites are largely species specific. So we can directly link a relation between a species of a population and the parasitic conditions or parasitic load. And that also we can understand. Presently, what is going on in the form of pandemic and all that can also be correlated over here, because it's a one type of diversity. Different type of SARS are there. Out of that, this one has been very important. It has become very important, and we are all worried about this particular variant, or whatever you say, is microbiologist or virologist, is a very important component compared to all other SARS. So this is what is a diversity, and it is at a local level to global level. When we are worried and we are thinking, then it becomes a biodiversity approach, and we can talk about the global conditions of local to global conditions in the form of endemic to pandemic, everything. So this is also is having one of the link with the biodiversity. Another is genetic diversity. Diversity of organism based on their chromosomes. So here the number of chromosome 23 pairs in human being. That is very important. Second is setup of arrangement of chromosomes. That is what we say is karyograph or karyotype. We have to understand. Then anomalies in the chromosome. Part of the chromosome is damaged, or part of the chromosome is not developed, or whatever is the different type of anomalies are taking care, and that those anomalies are resulting into different type of chromosomal aberrations and chromosomal disease. So that also can be included over here, but not in detail. We can refer that this is the condition of chromosome, this type of population changes are there, that. And also certainly we can think and talk about hybridization. So especially in plant and lower grade of organisms, hybridization is a very big activity done, and mostly wherever you are interested to have the output in the form of a food material or some otherwise a very important commercial material, then we can certainly enter into a hybridization. One of the major area is fisheries, and in that we know that we are playing genetic level conditions and trying to explore the possibility of new variant or new hybridized fish variety with a good color or good show, large number of fields and so many of them, and we make it more important.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, bolo.
Sir, in the plants some of the species are same, but on the distribution of geography, they are showing the different their morphology. That is the echades and ecotype.
Yes.
Same type found in the animals or fishes also, sir.
Everywhere. In entire biodiversity, everything is there, and
yes.
speciation is also there
Yes.
happening. So that is there. Yes, certainly there, and that is why in my initial
Yes.
what I am explaining is that only that our
Yes.
approach as a teacher or a researcher should be that why then there is a change. Let us find out what are the that changes, whether it is at a molecular level or just it's merely because of the ecological changes that we have to document.
Thank
and
you.
that we have to research.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Molecular diversity, what I mean is diversity of organism based on its nucleic acid. So DNA and RNA and all that is coming in picture. And as I already said, that based on different molecules, we can identify the organism at its species level and confirmation of that, which is known as a barcoding. And you all probably know about barcoding is done for all animals, probably for microbe also, animal also, plant also. In Gujarat, if I say GSBTEM is a major center to work on this particular one, and finally we upload this information what we derive through the technological developed systems, and final system if we have a final result we get from NGS system or Sanger system, and finally that sequence we submit to NCBL or otherwise to BOLD. and confirm the conditions. So that is molecular diversity. And here comes the biotechnological intervention, that which takes to a genetically modified organism. However, genetically modified organism is not the one which is natural biodiversity. It is a managed by human being, and that is why in my entire presentation I have not given much more weightage to that, or wherever that is required I have referred, like this is one of the point where I have given you the idea about GMO, but I do not include that in detail in my further explanation. Taxonomic diversity, as I said, that it's a social environmental conditions are also required. People also would like to know about the animals and plants and all that. When they are in the garden, if they get different color of the flowers, then they are having inquisitiveness to know. Just now, my friend has questioned me. The same thing is coming over here. That why then there is a change? If red rose is red, then why then we are getting a different color rose in some area and in other area we do not? If we bring the saplings, or if we bring the things, then also they may not result into that. Such thing also is happening. So this is something where I consider that taxonomic diversity is having a direct linkage with the population, human being, and social influences. So we, the biologists, when we are in society, our role for biodiversity of taxonomy becomes like this, that we have to explain them what is there and how there are changes and what could be the reason. We cannot train them with science. We cannot train them with the science, but we should at least give such answers where they can accept the things and they would be happy with the answers. So that is what is our role. As a member of the biodiversity board, we have trained many people in Gujarat state for this type of activity, that see the things in nature, talk with the local public, find out the things, what they know and what they believe, and then give them a necessary level of explanation so that their knowledge increases. This is one of the components. Somewhere it is coming later on, so I'm not detailing right now. So the taxonomic diversity can be viral diversity, can be bacterial diversity, can be fungal diversity, can be floral, and can be faunal diversity. It can be everything, or it can be any one of them. Like I have kept myself reserved much more with the animal diversity. Pattern and process of diversity, try to understand. There is a lot of complexity in the ecosystem itself. So species richness is to be identified. Species evenness is to be identified. And a very important component of interspecific relationship between the group of organism and within the group of organism is also intraspecific should be known. That is required always to be taken into consideration. Then interrelationship and distribution is as a function should be seen, like what is a niche, what is a food chain, what is a food web, where the trophic level, the organismic group which we are interested to further study or keep in mind as a central one, where it falls in the trophic level. Then whether they are a common species or a specific type of species. Are there any niche overlaps that can be also studied? Very important component we have to understand is the reproductive strategies. The reason is that this will lead us to a concluding level of deciding whether any impact of speciation is there or not. So that is why we certainly understand this also. And also larval settlement is very important. Larva, if I say something a little bit on the animal side, then larva which is there in animal groups are variety of larvas are in sometimes in one of the species only, just for the purpose of population sustainability and also exploring different niche. There are several larval forms in their life cycle. I would like to give two examples at this point. Number one is you all know about Fasciola hepatica or the liver fluke, which is the organism which is the endoparasite in animals and humans. This liver fluke is having variety of larvae. At least 5 variety of larvae there in their life cycle, and each level is exploring a different intermediate or a different host, where it becomes more mature, more powerful, and goes to another one. This is one in parasitic form. And coming to natural normal outside in the environment, then let us take the example of a prawn. Prawn is an edible organism, shrimp or prawn, though zoologically both are not same, but publicly they are same. So the shrimp and prawn, if we say, then in that case also there are several larvae. After the development is established, after embryogeny and development is established, one larval form comes is known as Nauplius. Then comes the second is Zoea, third is Megalopa, fourth is Myces, and then the prawn, which is known as post larva. In this case, each and every larva is exploring a different environmental conditions and develops faster and further in given environment which is of their selection. If they have not reached, like I give you the example of the shrimp or another giant water prawn of Narmada river, then it goes and breeds in estuary. But if it reaches to a Narmada from ascending towards freshwater and coming to somewhere nearby in Bharuch area, then only larval will change. If it is not allowed, then larva will not change. On the contrary, there will be a mass mortality of larva because they are directly having a relation with the environment. Then ecosystem stability is to be understood. Species diversity, how they are stable, whether they are stable in one ecosystem, are they dynamic, are they managing the equilibrium, are they just intermittent distribution from one ecosystem to other ecosystem they are trying to shift, that is the migration and all that. That can always be studied. And like that, we would like to understand the biological integrity of that particular group. Then very common thing which probably when you have pursue biodiversity in any way, any time, but still I thought that let me put that wording over here in my presentation. There are 3 types of diversity in the case of assessment, not numerical. So one is alpha diversity. Hey, microphone band कीजिए, please. Somebody's microphone is on and lot of disturbance is coming. I request the member, please mute your microphone. It is not only disturbing me, it is disturbing everybody. And as I understand, all of you are teacher. Please honor your position, please.
Sir, actually they are one of them from the administrator. It is
Even then, administration doesn't require the unmute the microphone. I do not understand. If they have any question, they can directly call me. They have a number. For management, I don't think that anything is required. That is my understanding. Anyway, some. So there are 3 types of diversity: alpha, beta, and gamma diversity. Alpha diversity is known as the average species diversity in a habitat. Average species diversity in a habitat. Beta diversity refers to difference in the species composition in a habitat. What are the differences? And the third is that gamma diversity, which is the measure of overall number of species within that ecosystem or within that habitat. Both can be considered. When you are approaching the biodiversity study and trying to make it more holistic, then you have to think about the ecosystem, but you are interested in a particular group only. Then you can bring down this gamma diversity type of variations and all that up to the habitat level. And very important component, which anyway I'm not discussing more, but give you the idea that there are a lot of statistical methods are available in our all softwares. Past is one of the software, Origin 30 is another software. Our common software is our Microsoft Excel, then SPSS. We can certainly document the measures of diversity, which are known as indices. And in that both, parametric diversity can also be taken care of, and as well as non-parametric can also be taken care of. That means we can talk about category or classification if we have done simple, or we have given some category to them. Everything can be taken off in the consideration, and finally we can document the some type of relationship, statistical assurance of the diversity indices. Already it is there on top line, species richness, species evenness, and all that. Which are the factors influencing the biodiversity? Physical factors, chemical factors. I do not elaborate much more over here, but still, stable environmental conditions are required. Greater physical complexity is there in each of the ecosystems, so we have to understand. Most important is temporal and climatic variations are taking place. Temporal doesn't mean climatic only. Temporal can be one seasonal also. So time dependent variations can be studied. Intermittent removal of species can also be there, like when we are talking about the aquaculture or any profession where, or rather any applied science of botany or any, plant or animals, then we can take out some diversity reward, like crop also. When we take out this type of the intermittent removal of the species can also play a significant role in balancing the biodiversity. There can be a fragmentation in the ecosystem, which is very common nowadays because of landscape utilization, urbanization, and so many issues are there. And corridor word is written here, that is very specifically written over here for the purpose of forest. In forest fragmentation is a very big problem, and there are corridors which are allowing animals to explore the surrounding area. If they are sustained well, then they can explore the another local nearby environment for their sustainability. And availability of nutrient is one of the component. Coming to biological, reproduction and growth is very important. Reproduction is truly very important component, because in case of reproduction in nature, if this doesn't allow or doesn't happen, then speciation will take place, and the hybridization what we have talked, or maybe then otherwise mutation can also come into the picture when it is a reproduction and growth. Then competition and predation is a very essential component. Co-evolution of assemblage is very important. Like if I say I am in the field of coastal zone research, and I am working on a diversity of coastal animals, there we look into assemblage of organisms and try to correlate with whether they evolved together or whether their existence is compatible with each other because of their co-evolution or not. That type of component we are learning. So that is biological factor. And trophic structure and food chain, where a specific group, species or a genera stays. That is very important. Based on that, on upper side of that, what type of food chain relationship will be there, or whether they are going to become a component of the others food chain or food web, that can be also studied. There may be nutritive material for some other larger animals or plants. So that we can understand. There is something like biodiversity hotspots. Let us understand this. But before going to this word, I would like to tell you that the biodiversity, we have taken some understanding up to a very basic line. I think thoroughly we all know, anyway we were knowing, but thoroughly it has been refreshed. I try to mute microphone for 1 minute. I have to attend, or maybe let us be there. आपको भी पानी पानी पीना है, 1 मिनट यहाँ वहाँ जाना है तो जा सकते हो. I just take 1 minute. Thank you very much for cooperating me. I'm back. Now from this point we are switching over to something little bit different. We have understood what is biodiversity. Now I'm talking about biodiversity hotspot. See, a biodiversity hotspot is a region with a high level of endemic species that is under threat from human. This is a very unfortunate statement I have written, but it's a fact. We have several biodiversity hotspots in India also, over the world also. Based on the variation or type of diversity existing, India stands 17th rank as a biodiversity resource component. But in India, when we talk about hotspot, then the most important hotspot is the Western Ghat. Western Ghat is under a tremendous threat. So lot of research, lot of activity, lot of organizations are involved in this work, like BNHS, WII. Probably you know all about this particular component. So they are involved in this, and local universities. From our side also, there is some work done by some of the group. So the term hotspot was introduced in 1988 by Norman Mayers, which is telling that this is the region which is having a threat to the biodiversity. While hotspots are spread all over the world, the majority are in forest area, and most of them are located in tropics. So majority in forest and most in tropic is finally concluding in the Indian area. Tropic India population is very high, and that is one of the reasons that the whole entire this particular component is in threat. A map which is describing the hotspot, this terrestrial biodiversity hotspots are explained over here. You can just visualize that for a few seconds. With an exceptional concentration of endemic species and a large number of endangered and threatened species, these are the points. And in India also you can see the entire western coastal belt is completely red. Even though you may be very well knowing, but let me tell you that what do you mean by endemic species is those species which are local and native to that area, where since many years or decades or maybe centuries, they are surviving, sustaining and enjoying their life. And such species are known as endemic species. And these endemic species can have a threat by the activity of the anthropogenic or rather anthropogenic activity, or there is another thing which is known as bringing another compatible species which then mounts on them, and then it becomes an invasive species. So this is what is very important we have to understand. The threats are also there. As I said that now I'm migrating some other approach. There are several threats. Habitat destruction is there. Extinction of the species is taking place. Gene pool alteration, man-made and natural is there. Invasiveness of species is there in both condition, man-made and natural. Over-exploitation is there, mainly man-made. Like if I say my topic fisheries, then there are some of the area where particular species is fished out tremendously. So it is leading to a depletion of that particular resource. Then climate change as a very common word available for a biologist and researchers. Is climate change also there? I do not, certainly I do not believe that climate change can be studied in 2-3 years. It should be a program of 10 to 15 to 50 years, but still we are doing a lot of research. And anthropogenic intervention is a very important component. We are non-logically unintentional on one side, maybe intentional on the other side, doing lot of activity which is a threat to biodiversity. And here I would like to give a idea that what are the living organisms. This just for the reference that in Gujarat and India, what type of organisms by the density or by the numerical density are present today, we would be understanding them. And technically we are supposed to, even though I tell you that this is not a final figure, there may be lot of new generation or new species are coming out, so many papers are coming out, but by and large this is the condition which are particularly under very much threat. Then I would give a brief idea on what our university has done a good role in documentation of diversity of Gujarat. One of the very important component is a documentation of diversity, because unless we know the presence and the type of diversity and type of organism in our area as well as nearby area, talking about the diversity and lot of major issues is technically useless. We should know what is there with us. So we must map it very critically, and in doing so, both the Department of Botany stands in alphabetically first and Zoology stands last in alphabet. We both the departments have done lot of work in few years, and we have got a very good, even though it is nothing new, both the departments were having this type of activity going on, but plus we have a systematic approach of doing the diversity in entire Gujarat. I will be just going fast with this. What we have done is, because the document and reports and everything is online available, those I have seen few very good faces of my friends in when I opened the screen of MS University. They can come and share if they want the reports with us. And also reports are available, all these reports are available online on Gujarat Biodiversity website. If you are further interested, you can visit that. I will just give a fast scan. So the fungal diversity is studied, bryophyte diversity is studied, pteridophyte and gymnosperms are studied, orchids of Gujarat studied, endemic and threatened angiosperms of Gujarat is studied, inventorization of the grasses and sedges is done, and a very important component from the side of botany is the herbarium preparation, and herbarium converted into digital herbarium is also done, which is partly done at the Maharaja Sayajirao University. And also there is one organization, Guide is the organization in Bhuj, they have also done. Coming to floral faunal diversity, Arachnida, that is spiders, Lepidoptera, they are the butterflies, crustaceans like prawn and shrimps and crabs and all that, Coleoptera, Orthoptera, Hymenoptera and Diptera, different type of insects. Inland feces, the feces, spelling locha hai, please ignore, and I apologize for that. Inland feces are the one which has been studied by me. The entire Gujarat was surveyed, and systematically with a technical sampling approach, we have identified feces from the freshwater resources. And status and distribution of caracal is done, which is one of the mammal, very important mammal, by guide. Just continuing with some little idea. Anyway, this is not for the purpose of advertising what we have done, but yes, fortunately, I am one of them. PC Mankodi, Dolly Kumar, who is our present head of the department, Pragna Parikh, and Kavresh Vachrajani, we have done these different reports. I am giving idea of zoology only. Flora I have not taken from them. The documentation of inland species. I just give one idea over here that when we thought of doing this work, we have taken in account the red data book or IUCN categories, and we have classified, identified, observed, recorded the organisms of all this type. Here it is the fish, and also we have treated them with this particular liver that IUCN stand where that stands. So totally I could gather the 97 species of freshwater fishes, and out of that this is the condition. 17 are less concerned, not evaluated status is marked in IUCN is for 11, 7 are near threatened, 2 are vulnerable, 2 are data deficient, and there are 5 species which are endangered. And then, as I told initially also, that taxonomic approach should be there. So I have classified them into family, the genus and the species. And certainly when it comes to fishes and all other organisms, if they have a commercial importance, then we have to look into that also. So commercial and ornamental fishes are also recorded here. And some of the photographs, just to give you the idea, I don't know whether you are able to see the cursor moving over there. Somebody can support me. Cursor, can you see the cursor is moving?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay. So here the species which you just concentrate. White cursor is on the second fish on the right hand side. Is or I am reading the name. Trichogessus fasciata. This species is one which is available in wild form and growing in ponds around Gujarat, across Gujarat and also around Baroda. And this is commercially important as ornamental fish. This fish is known as dwarf gourami. If you are maintaining the aquarium, then you will be understanding that this fish is known as dwarf gourami. And what I was taking is that this species is one of the goblet fish which has been recorded by us for the first time in Gujarat. Acrognathus gunderi is the eel which is found only in Narmada River, endemic to Narmada River, and not found in any other place in India. When the butterflies, spiders, and moths have been studied, here are some pictures of spiders and butterflies. Then documentation of arthropod in general was taken, and we have found out the weightage, percentage weightage of the different types. You can see that dipteras are maximum, and the minimum is the orthoptera. Then documentation, these are some pictures. Orthoptera is seen here as a, this grasshopper. And you all very well know that before pandemic, we were having a problem of grasshopper in India and in Gujarat belt. Just before pandemic, that was one of the problems. This is where the biodiversity comes in picture. This is where the knowledge and interaction of biodiversity comes in picture. And there are some crabs variety. A good number of crabs have been reported from Gujarat, and new genuses and species have been identified. These are some, Dr. Vachrajani has done this. This is one picture I would like to, make you people to see that how we collected. See, these are the sampling system. You can see the research scholars are there in the mud flat. We have selected the tide pools. We are on board on the, boat. We are sailing also. We have been collecting the specimen from the market also, and also we were having a nocturnal assessment of insects and all that. So our very good team of research students and research associates, and also the project members have done a very good work, and this is a unique work done and reported for the Gujarat Biodiversity Board by our university. What are the threatened species? Threatened species are any species, including animal, plant, and fungi or anything else, which are vulnerable to endangerment in the near future. So anything, if sustainability continues like this, then also it may be a problem. And then they may start vanishing from our resources. So that is threatened. Species which are threatened are having a population dynamics measures to be taken. We have to critically see mathematical model we have to use and find out that in what way the population growth is maintained, sustained, and how it is declining. And how then loss will be there, whether it is a habitat loss or a genetic loss, and what way it is going to then impact on human being in forthcoming years, if that is threatened, not taken care of, and unfortunately goes to a stage of extinction. These are few species which are documented as the threatened species, animals anyway. And there is something very important component, that the area which is there, which is having a very good component of biodiversity, very significant, with the endemic conditions and very unique characteristics of richness in biodiversity is there, then the biodiversity boards can identify such area and deem them as biodiversity heritage site. You probably all very well know that there are protected areas, there are national parks, there are sanctuaries very specific to animal or animal group, or maybe for a plant and all that. Then all you know that there are herbariums and there are the zoos and all that. Same way you can have one another component which is coming up very fast as the development in the form of biodiversity heritage site. And as it is getting recorded, and I wish that all of you will get my presentation at leisure, you may read. There are 12 islands of mangroves are there around the South Gujarat belt in 7 villages, which is mainly in the delta of Purna river in the Navsari district, are considered to be heritage site, because probably endemism is truly there. Also, a very good diversity of the mangroves are there in that area. And then some other are already in process. Now I'm switching over to another component, like why we should be worried. Biodiversity concern. We have to worry about biodiversity because we are the key player in managing or monitoring, or both on negative side also, for the biodiversity. Dwindling biological resource globally led to create universal understanding between nations by United Nations, and that was CBD in 1994. And several nations took part, and gradually several nations have taken part continuously. It is under the process of strengthening and all that. But I still remember when this convention was there, one of the representative from India was Professor S.D. Sabnis, who at that time was Pro-Vice Chancellor of Maharaja Sayajirao University. So, CBD related things we were very fortunate to get as a coverage in a very systematic way from Professor Sabnis. I really thank him, because one of the components of my research is biodiversity, and that has been strengthened by Professor Sabnis. The prime objectives are conservation of biological diversity. Second is sustainable use of component of biodiversity. Third is very important, fair and equitable sharing of benefits arising out of utilization of biological resource. This is very important. This has made very, very drastic changes in perception of biodiversity and utilization of biodiversity. And it is still gradually getting strengthened and strengthened by the national and international forums. So what is that convention? I would not take you more on the reading side. In Rio de Janeiro in 1992, this has taken place, and especially the event, it started as a convention, and then the first convention as a formal meeting was on 29 December 1993. And as I already told, the aim is same. I do not read the history, but history is going long back, right from 1988. The vision was started, and gradually it went on strengthening. And finally, in 1993, the first formal meeting, international meeting, took place, and there were some decisions made, and those decisions have been transferred to the authorities, to the nations by United Nations, and finally this convention has been approved in 1994. There are, after 1994 also, today also it is going on anyway, some development has taken place. The component of biosafety came into picture, and that biosafety component was studied by technically, and it has been defined that what way we have to understand. How do we then manage the movement, transportation and handling of living resources is known as a biosafety. So Cartagena Protocol is there, which gives about this idea, and which entered into legislation from 11th September 2003. Then another protocol was Nagoya Protocol, which is very important for access and benefit sharing of the bioresources, and giving equitable sharing and rights to the right from the bottom, the developer, to a professional one, the industries and all that. And that has come in force from 12th October 2014. And to do all this, we have certain international norms, and based on that, there is a firm, full-fledged framework. The top on this is a National Biodiversity Authority. It is an autonomous statutory body of the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change of Government of India. But it is autonomous, very important. Which is headed by Dr. Mathur. Professor Mathur was there in WII, has now been shifted there, and he is the chairman of the Biodiversity Board, or rather National Biodiversity Authority. This National Biodiversity Authority is a supreme authority in India for all the decisions related to biodiversity. And whatever decisions they are taking are gradually penetrating to different layers, which subsequently are coming. And then we have to follow those rules and regulations. So this National Biodiversity Authority, you will read that. I thank you for that right now. But the legal status was required to be given. So National Biodiversity and Government of India generated, and there was a apex committee who went on understanding the pros and cons and necessities of diversifying the legislation, respect to Indian conditions and all that. And finally, the one which is decided in CBT has been then accepted with whatever required component alterations within the Indian government rules and regulation and statute, came into existence as Biological Diversity Act in 2002. At that, when reached to a implementation, also notified as Biological Diversity Rule in 2004. So we are all, any human being, any institute, any university, any of the one which is having a dealing with bioresource of any form, falls within a camera of Biological Diversity Rule 2004. And thereby, we have a national apex body, again coming as NBA, which is stationed at Chennai. Then you have all the states having their state biodiversity board known as SBC, SBBs, and every taluka level there is a sequence going for regulations and all that. It is known as Biodiversity Management Committee or BMCs. This is the state of India, or rather the nation India, where you can see wherever they are there. I think now the condition, if I talk in 2020 rather, then probably each state, each territory, unitary, everyone is within now coverage of the biodiversity boards. Everywhere biodiversity boards are there. What is Biological Diversity Act? I am not a legal person. However, for being a member of Biodiversity Board, I have understood a lot. But I would like you people to take again a scan of these when you are reading. We are coming in, a lot of that clutches that how we have to. We can survey, we can use, we can deal with the bioresource, but under the Indian legislation only. And where the camera is set on us, we don't know. Something I'll share later on. But very important is NRIs, corporate bodies which are having an association outside, and foreigners cannot in any form deal with bioresource of India. They cannot, and that is why very important component is we cannot share bioresource in any form. Either complete full as a specimen and material, or up to the level of nucleotide. We cannot share that with any other agency outside India without official permissions of Biodiversity Board and Biodiversity Authority. I just wanted this to convey to you. Many of you must be dealing and working with the bioresource. So please keep this thing in mind. There is very easy way. There are standard forms available. Fill up the forms. You don't have to pay fees right now, as I understand, and just take the permission. Once you are having a permission, you don't have to worry. Because once you enter into some area which is protected and all that, then also you know that you take the permissions. So same way here, utilizing bioresource, probably I would certainly encourage all of you to take the permission from respective biodiversity board. This is something which is giving you the clear idea of how the act is there and how it is working. Bioresources are associated with commercial use, research, biosurvey and bioutilization, and transfer of research. And there we all very well know that something like IPR comes in picture. We have to deal with IPR. I would like to cite one example, very simple one example. If you recollect that very few years, 2-3 years back, there was a concern about the turmeric. Our turmeric, Indian variety, Indian origin, has been registered under IPO by America, saying that it is their material. Because from the turmeric, the bioactive compounds are available, and those bioactive compounds are very good for so many medical reasons and to treat the ailments. And they wanted to take the advantage of that. And India, NBA, and all that went into International Court of Law. And finally, last 2 years back, we have won that. And now the turmeric is not the property of America, but it is the property of India. So this is where property right also comes in picture. Then biological diversity, how do we require to work? That is there. Indian institutions can work. Any Indian institution can work. They technically do not require any approval unless they take out some product and sell it or they do anything else. So that is where wherever minimal requirement is there, you have to play a technical role. Otherwise, it is not required. Only making profit out of that and making an international, collaboration with our bioresource, then only you are in need of official permissions from NBA. But still, making surveys and all that, probably it is always safe to take the concern and also approval from concerned biodiversity board. This is how it is working. I already talked about that foreign nationals cannot do anything. Then this Biodiversity Act, how it is applicable, like what can be executed. Normally, the trade and commodities are not coming in the, that means if you want to purchase tomato, there is no problem. If you want to purchase onion, there is no problem. But if you generate a product, tomato ketchup, and also you generate a product in the form of onion available powder and all that. If you do that, then biodiversity board comes in picture. Till then it is not. So product in natural condition, we do not have to worry. We are allowed. Another thing, once you have done something out of that, you have produced something out of that, then it falls initially within the limit of the excess sharing and benefit. And there you have to take care of Biodiversity Act and supply whatever is required in the form of money or resource and intelligence with that. There is one very important component over here is that traditional knowledge is tremendous. In India, traditional knowledge is tremendous. Dadi Manu Vaidu em Gujarati ma mein kahiye chiye. I do not mean to speak in Gujarati anyway, but there may be few. So that is why I am saying that the local people, tribal people are having tremendous knowledge. And this knowledge, when comes to us, we have to understand that. We have to analyze that. We are scientists and technocrats. We have to convert it into some different way and reaching to the society. And in doing so, we should not forget that that knowledge has come to us from that traditional way. That is very important and which plays a significant role in a Biodiversity Act. This is the same thing. How do you then consider? There are some relevant terms anyway, not much more important, but just for understanding what is a bioresource, what is a biosurvey, and how do you enter into bioutilization. How do you say that you are a benefit claimer? It is very important you have to understand. If you are a claimer, then you have to act. Otherwise you don't. And whatever way the commercial utilization is done, that should be done systematically. I'm just giving a brief idea about constitution of board based on the section 22 of the article number 4. The biodiversity boards and NBBA has authorized each state to develop a biodiversity board, which is to be chaired by a chairperson, and some members are there, and the regulation and component of Gujarat Biodiversity Board is here for your reference later on. The mission of this is to ensure conservation of biological diversity in state of Gujarat, sustainable use of biological resources, and fair and equitable share of benefits arrival in the use of the biodiversity. This is the mission. The vision of this is biodiversity, its social significance and importance be primarily understood by people of Gujarat, be realistic, conserved, restored, maintained, valued, and continue to deliver benefits to society at large on a sustainable basis while retaining and fulfilling simultaneously its ecosystemic function, which is a paramount component. This is the vision. The organization setup, we do not have to much worry, but a chairman is there, a member secretary is there. There are some members, like there are some government members, autonomous, means that that position is a member. And as I told, that this is the present group. This is the present group. In previous to this, I was fortunate to be a member. So today we have a member as an expert ecologist, Dr. Arun Mani Dixit, Professor, or rather Dr. Bharat Pathak is retired IAS officer. Dr. Indra Gadvi, who is the Dean of Science in the Maharaja Krishna Kumar Singhji Bhavnagar University, is a member. And then there are again the members going there as with their portfolio. So these are the things very important. This is the group which is monitoring, maintaining, regulating the entire Gujarat. The activity is a formation of biodiversity management committee. This is a very essential activity. To each taluka level, we have to form this committee, and committee constitutes of the villagers, the political members. Political doesn't mean political party, but those who are holding the sarpanch and all that, and then intelligent people in the form of, or intellectual people in the form of agronomist, zoologist, botanist, biochemist. Such people are absolutely required as member of these biodiversity management committees. And their major role is within their purview area, they have to prepare a public or a rather people's biodiversity register, which is known as preparation of people's biodiversity register, whereby you are entering the information of available entire bioresource of that zone, that area, and with the information of taxonomy, ecosystem, and utilization, with a traditional knowledge of arrived from the local people. This is what is known as a PBR. And this activity is there. This is one of the activity where anybody can join, and we can have a trained people who will certainly help in doing so, and they will get reward because of joining this type of group for the project work. Then biodiversity heritage sites should be found out. Documentation of biodiversity is required, and whereby we are doing a capacity building. As I told that in the projects which we have done, we are having JRF and research assistants. They have been trained perfectly, and they are now available to our state and otherwise nation to work on this particular concept. So capacity building is also there, and later on anyway it is coming, so I am not explaining over here. The access and benefit sharing provisions should be understood and be done there. Like Zandu can make any medicine out of the traditional plant, but what he has done, what they have done, and what way they have utilized should be explained thematically, systematically, and also in a very proper way, that from a root level, root it doesn't mean plant root, but from a base level or root level to this industry level, how they have taken and what are the advantages they are getting, they have to share. Then documentation of threatened species is one of the assignment. And finally, this board is assigned to have a series of meetings, workshop, and training regarding the sustainability, conservation, awareness, and so many other things of biodiversity of the state. These are the biodiversity committee. How to form the management committee, that is written here. Utilization of bioresource, that's a rule UNEP has given, and utilization of rule is falling within the limit of the NBA and SBB both, and there are some tie-up like international agencies also are playing a role in doing so. They have joined hand with the Government of India and also with NBB and SBBs. The component of projects are there. Now I am switching over a little bit different. I have now with only 5 minutes to share with you. I will have to rush. Assessment of biodiversity. We need to assess, and here I will not give more idea. I won't be able to give more idea. But what is there is that at a point level, at a local level, we can have biodiversity indices, which will give us the idea about the complexity in the organismic coverage and all that, and a habitat relationship. We will be able to find out the species richness and all that on one side. That is point level, local level. But if we do not have that machinery, then we can go and take advantage of remote sensing and geoinformatic tools, whereby we can certainly take the local point level information to a global level. Then we can do this thing. I'm not reading all this thing, but I would certainly encourage you people to find out in future. And if you know about the remote sensing and GIS, I'm very happy. We have to make the maps whereby we'll be documenting the species richness on graph and maybe on the map signatures, different type of map signatures, and we will be able to circulate those maps of the realities using satellite resources. We can certainly find out the component of land cover and surface stock of with the quantification. We can find out the fragmentation in the particular area, as well as in the distribution pattern of organisms. We can also find out the vegetation index. We can find out the climatic parameter and its influence on the resources like light, temperature, water waves, and so many other things. And that is the most important, is that there is a spatial heterogeneity. That means we can cover from a local level, a point level, to a very large level, and that depends on the satellite type of things what we have used into our assignment. And we can certainly find out what is there, and we can establish interrelationship between different components at that level, on a point level as well as global level. And these parameters can be studied. And finally, Government of India is active in these, along with the Space Application Center and so many other centers who are working together on these biodiversity aspects. And today, biological research richness maps are available. Biological richness maps are available through Survey of India or other active agencies at the scale of 1:250,000. We can go about the component of understanding climate, as I said. So upwelling is a process which is taking place along the Gujarat coast and the west coast of India. That can be studied very easily. You have a spatial resolution, you can see on map, the picture rather, where the big area is covered, and this can be synoptic as well as also temporal. So that means series of data can be taken, and the series of data can be used together to make a sandwich and get you the idea about this. This is a compact information of upwelling at our area. This is one of the very important component I consider, because I was involved in this when I was working with Space Application Center. Sea surface temperature is on one side and the chlorophyll concentration on other side. If these two are mixed together, if these two pictures are made to mix together and a sandwich is done, then we can get the idea of the dispersal of chlorophyll or a primary productivity, along with the relationship with the sea surface temperature. And then you enter into a ecological understanding, and based on that you can advocate the potential fishing zones. This is what I have done. There are a lot of threats. I already enumerated them. Only just overview we take. The habitat loss and degradation is a very big component of threat to biodiversity. Invasive and alien species, which is a very big problem. Invasiveness is a big problem. In aquatic ecosystem, if typha is there, or Potamogeton is there, or Nymphia is there, they will flourish like anything and will cover the entire ecosystem. And because of that, light penetration is a problem, and so many other environmental consequences will develop, which will lead to a depletion of the condition of that aquatic environment. So that is why we have to understand the organisms, invasive organisms we have to cover. Over exploitation of natural resources is to be understood. Pollution and disease are two paramount components, and human induced climate change is also a problem. I don't want to go into this, just because this is anyway is my second lecture. And some idea that what are the threatened species across India.
Hello, sir. You are not audible.
Hope that some technical fault is there. Hello, sir. Professor Mankodi, sir.
Sir, network issue.
Yes, yes. Yes, we know the network issue. We'll join till all the participants. I'm very thankful to Professor Mankodi, Professor Pradeep Singh Mankodi, Professor in Zoology from MS University of Baroda, and the well-known personality amongst all the academicians. So, in zoology part, not only the zoology part, but as a human being, is a very good person, and he has very good knowledge about this biodiversity, means all the biological fields and all biological species regarding to our science subjects. So, Professor Mankodi, today the first lectures regarding to this biodiversity status, regulation and management. So I hope that all the participants get the information regarding to the biodiversity, most of these species level or maybe genetic level or ecosystem level, and they all these rare or threatened species regarding knowledge that you have. After this session that you have one pre-recorded lecture, and then again you will meet Professor P.C. Mankodi for their valuable lecture on coral reefs. So I hope that some knowledge of this zoology part, mostly Professor Mankodi, those who are a masters in anthozoan studies from species level to molecular level, and also the environmental science or marine biology or ecology or remote sensing or whatnot. So most of the area, those by this ecological system or maybe any environment system, and the real biologists, we said that Professor Mankodi has a knowledge regarding to that all the biological science. So we hope that in this 4th day session, that most of the lectures regarding to various disciplines in science. So I hope that now the coming days that also some of these interesting lectures we are planning for that, and we have scheduled most of the lectures. But nowadays the problem with us that lots of seminar or webinars which are going on online. So the professors or maybe some renowned scientists, those who are busy with their pre-schedules, so activities. So somehow, but in this refresher course, we hope that most and most uh, the renowned person or maybe some kind of the knowledge regarding to your special kind of subject, but we have some disciplines in science like microbotany, zoology, biotechnology, medical biotechnology, pharmaceutical biotechnology, the life science, or maybe food and nutrition. So all the discipline subjects participants with us. So we have to manage and we have to the balance with that. But we are all from the biology. So hope that you enjoy these sessions from the recording part or maybe some kind of live online lectures also. We provide some PDF or PPT material also to you, which all this examination process and some kind of this others criteria given by this HRDC for the fulfillment of the refresher course, where the review of the books or maybe you have to present some kind of your presentation through mode of this video or maybe some PPTs you have. So we give you all this schedule or maybe calendars or timetable to you for that. So I hope that you are all stay connected with us up to 28th of the September, and you enjoy a lot. And we will try to give you some informative lectures on the various fields of the biology. So being a coordinator in this refresher course of HRDC Life Science, myself, Professor Bharat Maitre in Gujarat University, and we are trying our level best and hope your participants enjoy all these things. If any kind of this requirement or any kind of suggestion you have, so kindly share with us.